Alright, for this build you're going to need a soldering iron, some solder. Recommended is some rosin flux, and something to clean your iron with. A lighter also comes in handy. 2 micro switches. These are what I used. They're 16 amp micro switches. A battery tester of some sort, and it helps to have some alligator clips. I used a 9 volt. You could also use a AA pack. Some handy hands. I use an XT60 connector to connect to my lipos. You're going to need that or whatever connector you need to connect your lipo to. I have actually 2 different types of wire strippers. I like these better for wire stripping, and this I use basically just to cut my wire, but you're going to need something to strip and cut your wire. Speaking of wire, you need enough wire. This is not enough, but you need wire to rewire your blaster. This is 16 AWG silicon wire. I recommend at least 18 AWG silicon wire. You're going to need some shrink wrap. I actually have a thing here that has all different sizes. It's going to be helpful to have multiple size shrink wraps. So shrink wrap, a plastic epoxy. This is Loctite 20-minute set time. You're going to need some sort of scrap plastic. I actually use this from a dryer thing that goes on the side of your house that I just had laying around, so I use that for some scrap plastic, but something like that, or maybe even polycarb or something like that. Super glue. This is a professional liquid super glue, and it's Loctite also. Razor blade or X-Acto blade. You're definitely going to need a number 0 screwdriver. I recommend a number 0. You might be able to get away with a number 1, but number 0 screwdriver. Sandpaper, some sort of snips. These are really nice because it allows you to get super close. I like this style. You'll be using this to cut plastic out the inside of your blaster to make space for the micro switches. Electrical tape, not necessary, but useful to have. A Dremel of some sort. This is actually my battery powered one. If you're gonna get a Dremel, I recommend a different one, which I'll link in the description. But I like this one because it doesn't need a cord, and it's worked okay for this build, but it's not very powerful and the battery dies really fast, so recommend the corded version of the Dremel. But you're going to need a sanding bit. I actually used 2 different sizes, one small, one big, and then possibly even a cutting wheel. Things I also used in this build but not necessary is a magnet. And this helps when you drop a screw or something, or getting a screw out of a screw port. It's just a magnet, so that's not necessary but helpful. And then these are like tweezers that help hold things, and this is useful to have too, but not necessary. You're probably going to need a pair of scissors to cut your shrink wrap, possibly needle nose pliers, and you're going to need something to cut metal because you're probably going to have to snip off part of your micro switch. So this is a 10 snips, but something to cut this metal with. You could also probably do it with your Dremel. Okay guys, I'm going to attempt to modify my Nerf Mega Mastodon here. I've already started, and I didn't want to put it back on just to show you guys because it was a bit of a pain, but if you have your handle attached, basically what you need to do is get a flathead screwdriver, and you have to get under here, under it, like here, and then I kind of turned like this and pried, and as you can see, it kind of will mess up your handle there, but I eventually got it to pop off. It takes a little effort, but it will come off. After that, obviously you want to take off your bandolier here. You don't need that on. Remove that and take out your batteries. Alright, and this can come off. And just pull that straight out. Should come off. Okay, and then undo all the screws, and I'll get back to you after that. Okay, as you can see there, guys, there's 4 different size screws. I'm going to call this small, medium, large, and extra large. So I'll try to tell you where those are located on the blaster. Small, 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 and I think that's all the smalls. 4 small screws, so I think that's all the smalls. Okay, mediums. This is a medium, 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 and medium. And then the large, I believe that's a large, 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 and then all the rest are extra large, which goes here, here. I believe this is an extra large here. I think this is an extra large. I haven't gotten this screw out yet, so I'll have to find that out. This is extra large. This is extra large, extra large, extra large, and this is an extra large. This is an extra large, and this is an extra large. And I found out I just missed a screw. Missed one right here, guys. Yes, extra large. Large size screw goes in the battery tray. There is some solvent weld on this part of the handle, so we're gonna have to cut that. When you're using an X-Acto blade, be careful. Now it should just come off. And there's our internals. Don't lose your jam door. We'll put that in the tray. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to unscrew these to get this guy apart. There we go. And then it all comes apart very nicely. So that takes that apart, or that off. And that'll make it a lot easier to deal with. Actually, I'll probably just screw that right back down. Get these tabs, there's 2 tabs there in the front. Should just pull off like that. Look at those flywheels. Okay guys, so I just recorded myself taking off all the wires, desoldering everything, doing it the correct way, and for some reason something happened to my camera and I lost all that footage, so I'm going to do the best to kind of tell you what I did, so you guys know how to remove this stuff correctly. So these all sit on here like this. These will be on here. You need to take your soldering iron and remove all the wires. I removed all the wires that connected everything first, like by desoldering points. And then once you had all the wires disconnected, then you can, actually I think this goes to this motor. Timeout. So this one goes to this up here, sorry. But they're all the same. But I removed pretty much all the wires that I could, so I could come in and heat up these points here and here. So you want to heat it up one side, wait till it's flowing, then try to pull gently up to remove it from the lead of the motor, and then come and do the other side and then pull it up on that side so you can remove this. Do not force this off if it is not flowing. You do not want to pull these off. If you pull these tabs off, you're done. So you don't want to pull those tabs off. You want to be very careful. You want to make sure you desolder this, and then use your finger or maybe a pair of pliers by grabbing this and gently pull up as you're desoldering this point. So you do that for these two, and for your pusher motor down here, they're all the same. And then all these other switches, basically they have screws that lock them in. You can unscrew them and just pull them out, and then just pull everything out of the blaster. We're gonna rewire the whole thing. So I think I'm gonna start out with soldering my wires here to the motors. So the back side of the motors is your negative and the front side is the positive, at least on mine. I've tested that and found out that that's how they rotate. So I will connect those And you have lots of room for wires, so I'm going to be using 16 gauge silicon wire. Alright, so I have this back into its spot. As you can see, I've soldered those on. They wrap around nicely with that silicone wire. It's very bendable, so it fits right in there nicely. There's lots of space in this blaster, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then I got a nice little hook here. This negative wire is going to go to, I believe, the pusher here. I think this is the negative. I've checked that once. I'm pretty sure this is the negative, but I'll make sure before I connect that. And then the positive is going to run underneath, and then down here to a cherry switch that we're going to be installing. Okay, so just to give you guys a little update of where I am, I've carved out a ton of stuff here in the grip, and it's given me room for my wires that are running through there. And then I've created a little, I cut out a scrap piece of plastic, and it's gonna go on top here. I'm gonna epoxy that in so I can still run my wires underneath it. And then it'll also raise up the level a little bit so I can get this switch exactly where I want it, and then it'll engage the rev switch that goes right in here. So I have 3 wires here, and it can get a little bit confusing, so you got to keep track of what wires go where. I kind of already, this is where my battery's going to be, so I've put this. And this blue should be actually black. This is the negative. I just didn't have any black wire, so I used blue for this. But this should be a black wire. And this red wire is the positive, and it's gonna run down here. And it's gonna connect right here, which is the normally open, I believe. Yes, normally open. And then these 2 wires are gonna connect up here to the common. So just wanted to give you guys that, and then I'll connect those here in a minute, get this all set, and then move up to the next switch, which this blue wire here, and I used blue here just to give me, so I didn't have 3 red wires. It really doesn't matter what color your wires are as long as you can keep track of them. Everything in this is positive except for this blue wire here that goes to your battery. That's the only negative we have so far. I'm going to connect all that, get that in place, and then I'm going to do something very similar up here to set the switch for the trigger. So, okay, so we're going to get ready to try to place this micro switch here so this activates it nicely. And I went ahead and I modified this slightly. I obviously cut it down, and then I added a piece of the lock, the trigger lock there, and I just cut off a piece and added a little flat surface to the back just to give it a little more surface area to press against this to make it hopefully work a little bit better and more consistently. So yeah, then we're just gonna have to try to figure out where this fits in best. So we'll put in the switch there, and I'm probably gonna have to screw this down or it's gonna pop out. So I have my screw here, and then we'll see if this, so this, you wanna make sure it's not obviously pressing the button when it's just resting, but then you push, it'll press. So I think I want to actually, it needs to be down here a little further, so we'll have it, that feels great to me. That's perfect, so that's right where I want it. A couple screw ports here that hopefully we can keep, but we might have to modify the back side of the other shell just to get that to fit in there at the end, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get this put in place, and then I'm going to try to, then I'll solder the wires to this just so it's a little bit easier to make sure this is in the perfect spot. Probably I'm going to use super glue, so then if I absolutely, it'll stay, it has a good connection, but I don't want to use a two-part epoxy because if I want to get this off, I want to be able to, and super glue is a little bit easy to remove with a solvent of some sort, so, and you can usually get it off. If this ever goes bad for some reason, you need to switch it out, then you can do that. So I'm going to lock that down with super glue. You could use hot glue, but hot glue just, you need more of it and it gets a little messy. So since this is actually, considering how big this blaster is, this is a little congested here in the grip. So I suggest super glue, and I think it's just a little cleaner. So